Lately I've been focused on learning lots of tricks. As Malmsteen quite rightly pointed out, more is more. I really enjoy the buzz of learning the new trick. I usually film the process and then move on to the next trick. The problem with this continual trick learning regime is I never have the opportunity to really bed the trick in. If I don't find a nook for it at the local skate park, I tend to find the old adage, if you don't use it, you lose it, is particularly true for me. What I've ended up with is a bulging sack of tricks that are all a little bit half finished and moth-eaten, and if I do try and crack them out during a session, it'll take me a good few goes before I get one. So when the opportunity arose to get my hands on a retro reissue deck, I jumped at the chance. I thought it'd be a really good opportunity to go back and revisit a few old school tricks. The Jeff Kendall backlight reissue deck has a cracking old school outline. I've had my eye on one of these for quite a while as it's got the same 15-inch wheelbase as my old faithful Andy Anderson deck. It's just under 10 inches wide. I couldn't resist a retro deck grip job to put on the top. I fitted her out with 159 Indy hollow trucks, put in those bones hardcore bushings. Also fitted her out with the Spitfire wheels. I couldn't wait to get down my local bowl, test her out and see how she felt doing some of my more regular tricks. This board felt great from the offset. It's not a million miles away from my usual board, but there are a few areas where it is significantly different. Number one, the concave is a lot mellower. That Cruz Missile 2 concave really provides a flat platform and it makes carving and carve grinding around the bowl really fun. I reckon this would work a treat in a pool as well. Also, the outline looks really nice when you come out over the coping for a carve grind. It's got that surfy look. I'm used to having a big tail, but this tail has a bit of a two-stage rocker to it. Hard to see in the pictures, but the last inch just shoots up and puts a little notch at the back of the tail. This feels a little bit odd to start with, but I found once I got used to it, it really locked my back foot in place and gave me loads of purchase when trying rock to fakies. It also worked nicely for going fakie over the spine. That big tail also found great for locking into blunts over the spine. Loads of area there to lock onto the coping. It didn't matter if I went up a bit too far, that big tail still hit the coping, helped me to fudge over the top. Overall, the biggest difference I've found with this deck is the size of the nose. This nose is a lot smaller than the nose I'm used to, so tricks like the nose stall did present a little bit of a challenge. Whew, those first few attempts, I was absolutely nowhere near with that small nose. But after a bit of practice, I actually enjoyed trying to get a board that probably wasn't designed with a nose stall in mind to do the nose stall. I did find, however, that this smaller nose still worked fine for tricks like the fakie rock, where you have to shift your foot down onto the nose and get the back wheels clear. It seemed like with the right technique and just stamping down a little bit more finessed could still make the fakie rock happen. I found that combining that locked in back foot feel with the wider, flatter concave gave me plenty of confidence when trying axle stalls, and this made me curious as to how this board would work for a 50-50 grind. So I entered into a few sessions where I battled the 50-50 grind round the corner. This board also seemed like a prime candidate for the board slide to fakie. I fitted the board out with Santa Cruz sail block rails. These are a little bit harder and a little bit more plasticky than what I'm used to. Even going up for a rock to fakie a bit on the wonk, I could slip out, oh my gosh. But once I got used to the extra slidey nature, I felt I could harness this and it made my board slides a little bit longer. So that got me thinking about the board slide around the corner. I never tried these, so it was on with the pads, on with the helmet. I entered into a little bit of a board slide round the corner battle. To finish up, I felt inspired to go back and relearn a few old school tricks. The sweeper is one of my all-time favourite tricks of all time, but I just don't do it enough to have it fully locked in. I was thinking though that nice flat concave and that extra width on the board would feel comfy when hopping back into the transition, so I decided to revisit the sweeper. Needed to remember how to hop out, and that was to bend my knees at the bottom and do a little pump up the transition. Also, bring the front foot right up whilst grabbing the nose and try and keep that front foot in contact with the deck as I swept it round. The thing I really wanted to improve was my hop back in. And I think the sweeper I was after was the wheels to continually be moving forwards and bounce over the coping as I jump back in. My previous version was to bring the board up to the coping, tail in place, and then hop the back foot on as I went back in. So that was an obvious area where I felt I could improve. As usual, I entered in to a little mini battle. I really enjoyed the process of relearning this trick. What I found is it just came back a little bit quicker than when I initially learnt it, but there was certainly no way I could do the trick straight away, even though I'd had quite a few sessions practicing it before. So following this practice, I'm determined to keep up my sweepers. I'm going to try and do at least one or two every single session, regardless of whether I'm skating mini ramp or bowl or even at the local street park. While I was at it, it seemed churlish not to try a few sweeper variations. I really like the can opener, and one area of frustration is trying to get that front foot impossible to happen. So a little tweak I had in mind was to do the Tony Hawk method of just using the front hand to flip the board and also catch the board. Previously, I've been using my backhand to tap the board, and I think this is a bit of a downside because number one, it doesn't look that great, and number two, it also does introduce a little bit of inconsistency. So a little bit of practice grabbing the tail with the front hand, spinning and catching the nose of the front hand, and that started to feel a little bit more consistent. I'd already worked on my hopping via the sweeper. That part is essentially the same. So as soon as I got the front foot impossible part sorted out, I found the can opener started to come to me a little bit more consistently. I also had another go at the fakie foot plant. I haven't done these for a while, but I thought all this hopping in would give me the confidence to try a few. The big difference here is your front foot is on the board and you're grabbing the tail and then hopping back in that way. There were a few frills and spills to start with, but once I got my confidence up, I felt I could do my fakie foot plant, bring the board right out, and then hop back in without too many issues. Well, that's it for this video. Overall, I really enjoyed the process of putting this setup together and also going out and riding it, exploring the possibilities. I felt it definitely made me skate in a different way and also think about tricks in a different way. I found for me that the Reissue deck has been an excellent addition to my quiver. I started out on a rock sop Reissue and then I've progressed through various different more modern shapes, so it's been ace to go back to a retro shape. There are a few obvious drawbacks, such as the price. Certain design features may not be to a modern skater's taste, but they are loads of fun and you can't put a price on fun. If you're new to the channel, feel free to hit subscribe. I make new videos every week. You can also follow me on Instagram at John Bishop Skate. As ever, my name's been John Bishop and I'm a middle-aged guy learning how to skate.